Recently, I've been playing a game called No Rest for the Wicked, and I think it's a very fun game for an early access that took inspiration and mechanics from other games. I played and finished the main story of the game. After I finished the game, I got this feeling that I have not felt in a long time, that I wasn't expecting. A game what I thought I would design when I grow up. Have you ever played a video game and it's so good that you wanted to make a game or wish a game that have everything that you like? No? Okay, I guess it's just me. Anyway, yes, the game is still in early access, I know, but hear me out. It's a top-down dark fantasy open world ARPG with Souls-like combat that looks very pretty and creepy with the Ori and the Blind Forest art style. The game is made by Moon Studio, who also made a little game called Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of Wisp, which have a very great art style that looks like a painting, and that same paintingly magic is everywhere in No Rest for the Wicked, but this time it's drenched in blood, rot, and moonlight terror. The game is set on a place called Sakura, where you find yourself who is at the shore after your ship is raided and destroyed. Here you find that the Sakura is filled with many enemies like bandits and monsters and curse, so-called the pestilence, that is causing the whole area troublesome for its people. Later you find a fortified settlement called Sacrament, which is your main hub to the game, where you got your blacksmith, cook, housing, alchemy, and many more stuff like the shop and stuff that gives you or lets you upgrade your characters. Here you also get missions and the main story stuff. The story is much of a dark fantasy, but I don't want to talk much about it because I don't want to spoil it, and I want you or the people to experience it themselves. Even though there isn't much of it, like it's in early access, so it doesn't have much of the story. It's just seems like the game is beginning at the chaos of the world. All I can say about the story is the cinematic cutscenes are very nice and it's very well done. And it's very intriguing, like what's going to happen in the next update that's gonna have the story expansion and all. And so comes the gameplay part. As I mentioned earlier, the game is an ARPG where you go to the different locations and dungeons and fight enemies and search for loot. But with the combat, stamina, and even the weight management of the Souls game, and even the leveling system is similar to the Souls game. Especially for me who was never very interested in games like Diablo or Path of Exile because of the combat gameplay. It feels very refreshing and kinda new for me, even though it's nothing new. It's just two different mechanics of different games are put into one. The game also had the progression system similar to the Souls game, which I heard they're gonna change to more skill tree based, but for now it's same as Souls game where you put your level points into different attributes that give you specific improvement on your stats. The game is also difficult and kind of punish you hard if you make mistakes while fighting enemies, similar to the Souls game where you can die in a few hits. If you're good at Souls game, I think the game difficulty will be kind of okay for you. And I heard that the game has some difficulty issues before, but they kind of toned it down, so it would be much better experience for both new and the veteran Souls players. For the people who are new to the Souls or even ARPG game, I think this game might be tough for you because the game punish you very hard for dying. Well, kinda and kinda not. I'll get back to it later. Some of the best part of the game is the exploration part, and the world of the game feels very interconnected like Dark Souls, where you find new shortcuts and places takes you on a long path that leads right back to where you start from. and the game visuals make the exploration feels more satisfying or rewarding. It's a very stylized game that looks like oil painted, and every location feels alive, even though it's only filled with enemies. The game is also a bit grindy because of how the gameplay system works, but not so much that you get frustrated. Only for the food, I would say that. You see, the food are the main source of healings, and it might get a little bit frustrating when you die a lot to a single enemy, or like where you're trying to fight a boss and you're constantly dying and you just wanted to go back into it and try your best, and you know that you are good at it, you're just making a few mistakes that you need to work out, or you need some fast decisions making that might lead to your death. And after fighting a few tries to that boss, it seems like you don't have any food left in your inventory, and that makes the game kind of punishes you to go back to the world and collect the resources or even buy the foods which are quite expensive in this game. A tip I would recommend for the new players that when you're exploring a new area, I would recommend you to get everything, like every from the small to the big items, materials or ingredients that you find and collect it, because it's a better way to use your time to get all of those stuff in a one run than you just kind of go back again and grind because you just didn't took your time to collect all of those items and stuff. So that is something I would recommend you in your playthrough. The game is also have a system where the enemies doesn't spawn like the Souls game where every death respawn the enemies, or when you rest in a bonfire or so-called whisper in this game, the enemy doesn't come back to life or respawn. The enemy takes some time to respawn in an area. Like for me, so far that I know about, it feels like in-game 24 hours where you have to wait 24 hours for the enemy to respawn. So you might have some trouble grinding your XP. So there is some way to grind XP in this game in an easier way. Well, the first thing is that you can go to the different area of the map for getting new enemies or different enemies so that you can grind your XP. This will take a little bit time, but you can get new enemies and new item or loots or stuff that can make your character better. But it takes some time because you need to go back to the spawn by fast travel and all. And the second recommendation I would give you is the Crucible. The Crucible is an area in a hub which is similar to the Bloodborne Chalice dungeon where you go and fight in an arena and you clear the area and you go to the next and so on. The enemy also are scaled upon your level, which is pretty nice, and it also gives you a decent amount of XP to level up your character. This is something I think they still need to look into because the player might exploit the system to get the XP without any drawbacks, since you can do the run anytime and you can just not use your food or on the run and fight until you die. The Crucible also offers some of the items that you can buy only inside the arena. The shopkeeper can sell you some of the items that no other shop can sell, and some of it are upgrades for your hub, like respec of your character level. The game also lets you buy your own house, where you can put your chest and store items that you have looted, and then you can buy crafting machines that will help you to craft items like wood to the planks and armor and weapons and so on. Now you can also upgrade your character storage from an item called Black Ichor. This is only dropped by mostly monstrous boss, and you can take it to the Watcher so that it could be used to upgrade your character for specific things like storage item, food items, materials item, or even the weapons or equipments that you can equip on your character, also the amount of food you can consume in a combat. The game is similar to different RPG games or ARPG games where you upgrade your hub and all, where you upgrade your blacksmith, your carpenters, your cook, and even your horses and all. Upgrading the houses like shops and all, even the blacksmith and all, it all gives you new items like better equipments and all, and it gives you more resources that you can buy, even though if you can get all those items in the process of fighting enemies and all, you can have free access to buy some of the stuff that you wanted without grinding. One of the things I like about the whole combat of the game is that you can play the game even with your character being heavily equipped, like using the two-handed sword or using the heavy armor and stuff. That makes you do fat roll. But unlike Souls game, here you get a new ability where you can shove your enemy. Shoving your enemy just make the enemy fall down flat. This is kinda broken and I think it needs some adjustment, but what it does is shove an enemy and the enemy just fall down. And then you can do a heavy attack for free. You can shove mostly any enemies in the game, and if you are playing the heavy build like me, where you just need like 2 or 3 hits to kill enemies, but the thing with the heavy weapons is that the hitting part is the most difficult part, since some enemies are very agile and it's very hard to hit them, and the weapon takes time to wind up for the attack, and the shove just make it very easy. The combat also have a focus meter that gives you the option to do a special attack just like Elden Ring, Ash of War. It also has some issue of how it can only be filled up by hitting enemies or by consuming specific food that gives you instant focus, and I think that needs to be adjusted because some people might just want to test their builds, like what this rune do, what's its ability, so they might need to make a system or like an item that gives you instant focus. I know it can be exploited, and there are one item or one food that gives you focus, but the thing is that that is a very rare or very high tier food item that you need to know the recipe and you need to cook it. So there is no other way besides fighting enemies, and by that you can only gain the focus meter. I hope you get the focus meter by sleeping in your bed or in an inn's bed, so you get a free access to the focus just for the testing of your builds and stuff. That would be pretty good change, I think. Playing this game makes it feels like it's still a very early at this moment, because the game has a lot of mechanics that you find missing like a normal RPG game would have, and that would be like the things you can check the wiki stuff and all. Like you don't need to go to the Google and check on the items description and all. It should be in game, but it's still very early access and it's just fine. Even though I had some hiccups, it's just fairly fine because the whole gameplay mechanics just kind of works. This leads me to the pros and cons of the game. The dying system. It is the most basic part of the game, yet it's very weird to see how it's implemented in this game, and it can be very frustrating or very exploitive in this game. Exploitive? Is that a word? Anyways, so like I told you how it's easy to gain XP by going into Crucible and fighting enemies without healing yourself. So that's one of the cons that they might need to fix. But it's also that you don't lose anything by dying. Like when you're in exploring areas and all, like you're exploring new areas and you might die by falling or like getting killed by enemies by one shot and all, you just don't lose anything. Besides, if you're trying to kill an enemy and die by consuming a lot of foods, then you might think, okay, I lose some of the food items that heals you. So that's something that you need to worry about. But if you just die instantly, it's nothing but just you need to go back to the spawn. I mean, you are spawned in back to the whispers and you need to walk back. That's it. There's no penalty. Because there is no souls in this game where you get souls by killing enemies and you can drop souls by dying, the penalty seems very loose, which I think it's a good mechanics for the people who just don't want to get frustrated by dying and losing a lot of stuff. But in overall, it's like you just want to die because you can die and go back to the bonfire. Like it's like a weird mechanics for fast traveling, and it can be exploited by that way. And the other thing is the food and how it's managed in this game. Let me explain to you how the food system works. The food is something of an item that you consume for healing yourself, and it's the main healing item that you use in this game. And the food can only be made by cooking, and for cooking you need some ingredients, and finding ingredients might be tough because the items that you need or the ingredients that you need for making foods and stuff can be collected from different areas. But the thing is that the item that you already collected, like there's some resource, like you get some potatoes and you get the potato and now it's empty there, and it will remain empty for a while, just like the enemies that spawn. So you might want to change your location of where you want the ingredients from. And it also depends upon the area where you're in. Like different places get you different type of food items or food ingredients that can be used for specific kind of foods to prepare. Not just that, but if you want to get instant ingredients or food, you might want to go to the cook, the people who are selling the food items and all. And it's quite expensive there. And it's not just that, it has limited items which you can only buy limited food. So you don't have a lot of food for your journey. And I can understand that if they sell a whole lot of food, you might just buy it from there and you might just use it and don't explore the whole world. And I can understand that, but it feels very frustrating if you're fighting a boss and dying a lot of times. And some people just don't want to go and grind a lot of stuff. That's one of the problem with the food. But the next thing is that you can only consume a limited amount of food in a combat. So here's the thing, that when you are in a fight, you might have 100 of food, different type of foods, or even 50, 60, 70, whatever amount of food you have. But when you're in a battle, you can only consume like 10 types of food, and that's it. And it is a loosely system on the regular enemies where you can just go back a little bit and you can go out of the combat and it recharges the food meters, how much you can consume it, and you can go back to the fight again and you can use it that way. So it's not that bad in those situations. But when you're fighting a boss fight, the boss fights are all in an arena where you can't escape the boss. You have to fight it, and there the number of food consumptions is very, very important part of the game. Now it becomes that how much you can consume the game. And it's not just that but the game also doesn't show you very well a way to how many foods you can consume. Like it's in the logo of the food and it's very hard to see. So I think they need to fix that. And I can understand that you can have hundreds of food, so it would be unfair to eat all of those food while you're fighting the enemies, and sooner or later the enemy will die because of how much healing you have. And I can understand that, but they need to show it more better way to the players so that they know that okay, you can only consume this amount of for this combat and you have only left this amount of food. But that's something I think they will fix in the later updates and all, with all the feedbacks and all. The game also has some small issues, like you can't look at your runes ability to, you just have to test it on, like, by using the abilities, or you can go back to the alchemy shop where you can get the runes, and there you can inspect what the runes do. You can't just go to the item menu and check what your runes do or what your abilities do. And it's worse for the legendary weapon. You can't put any runes in that, so you can't go to the alchemy shop and you can't see what your abilities do. You just have to test it out, and it makes frustrating for the people who are trying to get their builds and stuff, like who wants to play the game specifically way that they want to play. They have to go to the Google and go to the wiki and stuff and get the information. So it should be in game, and it should be easy to access for the people. The games also have fast traveling issues where you can only fast travel to the last checkpoint that you have game, and from the checkpoint or the bonfire or the whisper in this game they call, you can go only back to the main hub area. So that's just very inconvenient for going back and forth and stuff. So I think they said that they would change it, so that's for the future, but right now it's not the best, I would say. It also has some optimization issues. I don't have the best hardware. I have a laptop where I'm playing. It has 3060, and I think it's a decent hardware, but it still have issue running it and having drops of frame rates and all. So I think they are working on the optimization. I get that, but right now it's a little bit hit or miss. I mean, for people who don't want their frames to drop like inconsistently. The game is a little bit grindy also. For some people that might be off, but for me it wasn't that bad. But I can understand if you don't have fun with it. But overall, I think the game is fun. The core combat, exploration, level, and enemy designs are great. The game, for just having bare bones, is still a very good game. The story is very intriguing, and it feels like the story is going in a direction between like Game of Thrones and Berserk style, which I like very much. And the recent news, it seems the game next big update is going to be a co-op update. And I feel like this game is meant for a co-op. Like there are lots of grinding stuff where some of your people can grind some of the materials, some of you can go and get loots and stuff. Like people can do different stuff. And I also heard in some of the interview that the developer, they don't want the players to just bring your friends to do the quest and stuff. They want the players to live in the game, playing the whole adventure together, doing stuff together, where it's like a Minecraft game where everyone can do many other stuff. The game has a lot of stuff. I mean, not as much, but they said that it's gonna have more stuff to do together with the friends than the Souls game where you can just summon your friends to fight clear area or bosses. Also, for a $20 game that is on early access, that gives you a 35 hours of average gameplay for the main story. At least for me, I finished it on 35 hours average of the main story. That is pretty good in my opinion. The game is also being made by Moon Studio, who made the Ori and the Blind Forest, which they recently bought the rights of the No Rest for the Wicked from the publisher, which shows that they are willing to go full all in the game development, which I think is a good sign, especially for an early access game where some of the devs just stop supporting the game and it just become the early access game forever. And it seems like this game can become a full game entirely because they have shown the whole passion about what they are doing by even getting the rights of the game from the publishers, which the publishers were trying to drop the game. And I think it's a very good sign of the future of the game. So the main reason for me to make this video is because I like the game a lot. And even though it has problems, I think it has potential to be a great game. And in this era of gaming where the gaming prices are going up but the quality of the games are from 2008 or even worse, I would play a game even a half-baked that has some potential rather than all these slobs game. After I finished the main story of the game, I watched some of the interviews of devs from the game and it seems like they're a pretty chill guy. And in this economy of gaming industry where the devs hear the players' feedback, it's kind of like a very rarity. And oh boy, where some devs just don't want you to own the game, or some say that you will pay $80 if you're a true fan, I think that's just full of shit. I want to clarify that this is not a sponsored video and I'm not getting any kind of money from the Moon Studio. I'm just tired of the whole gaming industry nowadays. There are a few games that are good and I'm not saying that all of the games nowadays are bad, but many of the AAA games, like the big companies games, are exploiting the whole gaming industry market. And it's just not the games, it's even the hardware of the gaming and all. It's all very expensive and stuff. Like, it's just in every way the gamers are getting fucked by the gaming industry, from the hardware to the game itself. And the scalpers are just making things worse. So this is a game I enjoyed a lot and I don't even have the best hardware yet. I played it, even there were some issues like dropping frames in many areas and I still enjoyed it. But this is not a video for making you to buy this game or something like that. I just wanted to talk about it. It won't be the cup of tea for all of the people, but it sure is better than many AAA games. Or at least it is more innovative than most of the games in the market. It takes two different type of genre and try to mix it up, and it's working in a way that I think in the late development, this game has the potential to become a very great game, or even a masterpiece. If you like this video, just let me know. If you think the game looks anyway interesting, try it out, and that's it.